Hey folks, and welcome back. I think it's time we have another one of these discussion episodes where we sit down and talk about how things are going. Have a little bit of a status update on how the means development is progressing and talk about some future plans for the game, for the channel, and for this video series. So, we are here in the refinery level blockout version, which you can see has gotten a lot of cliffs. And indeed I've spent, at least it feels like I've spent the past 2 or 3 days modeling almost nothing but cliffs. And the reason I've done that is I want to essentially establish the shape and size of this level, of this play space, to get an overall idea of how it feels, how it plays, how it flows, if you will, in order to make better decisions about gameplay. And I think I have a pretty good, at least first revision of this in now. You can see there are an awful lot of cliffs around. Some of them will require some more work. I've tried a few different styles, not all of them necessarily good, but they will do for now. This is a blockout version after all. And I modeled all of these cliffs using my Blender sync system, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a system I have set up where I can really easily send data back and forth between Blender and my game engine level editor. And so the system was essentially designed to model things like this tower here, so small to medium size objects essentially, and it is really great for things like that. But I also ended up modeling these really huge cliff pieces with it, and these can be 500-600 world units in size. And while it chugs a little bit, it actually works really well. So that was sort of something that I tested just for fun, but actually it's turned out to be a really nice way to model these things, almost to the extent that I can't really imagine developing a level now without this system. So this has turned out to be almost like a killer feature for the game engine, essentially. Even though, to be fair, this thing could be quite easily implemented for another level editor or game engine too. But I'm super happy with how it turned out, and I'm constantly finding new ways to improve the system a little bit. So, what's next then, beside cliffs? As you can see, there are lots of areas here that are still missing cliffs or just proper ground modeling, like this area here, for example. We need to figure something out with this area. And I need to start adding rocks and trees and things like this to the area to make it feel more alive, but also to help with establishing the scale and sort of continuously establishing the scale. Because I always try to model to scale. That's why you see these tiny little dudes standing around here, these scale mannequins, as I call them. So these guys are like 170 high, so 1 meter 70 centimeters, or 1.7 world units high, which means that you can see that this lift here is actually positively huge, but that is the idea, because it needs to fit the mother vehicle. So modeling to scale is super important, obviously, but even though you have these guys standing around in various places, like here, and there's one, you can't place them everywhere, and indeed you don't want to, because you will want to get rid of them at some point. But it's much more easy to lose track of a scale when you don't see objects of a known size, if you will, continuously. So more props, more sort of natural objects that your brain can sort of go like, okay, that is the size. That's cool. The refinery got a pretty big facelift. So I have essentially like the first blockout version of this done. I almost went a little overboard with the poly count of some of these. They might not actually even be blockout versions anymore. They might be the final versions after some polishing and some better materials, obviously. But still, super happy with how this turned out. These pipes, once again, I used Blender geometry nodes to model them, so that all of the fittings are automatically added through geometry nodes. Things like this, super nice, super happy with how this turned out. It looks like a real proper place, and it's probably the most finalized version or place in this level currently. Here we have the monorail station, obviously, which we sort of speed modeled or time-lapse modeled on video. You can find that video on the channel if you want to have a look. Also shows some great use of Blender Sync. The monorail was modified a little bit, especially in the other end, to fit with the new design and new layout for the lift station. I think it looks quite nice. Still need to work some on the pillars, but that's that. And yeah, I'm not actually gonna tell you that much about what these things are, what these buildings are, what this lift station is, etc., etc. I think it makes sense to keep some of the mystery alive, so that you can experience it if you want to when you're playing the final game. Maybe I'll accidentally spill the beans in a later video. That is entirely possible. But yes, these places are coming together. This wall here is probably the least final piece in the whole level, and it might be the thing that I will look into next. All right, we arrived at the monorail station, so we can just drive out of here. There's one more area that I want to sort of show to you, something that I'm kind of excited about. And that area is actually right in the beginning of the level. However, the player will spawn with their back to it, so it won't be visible. I was thinking for a pretty long time, like, where should this area actually be? What is this valley that we're in? And I tried this idea, which I think might be where we actually want to place it in the world. So it's essentially sitting at the edge of a vast desert or plain or something like this. And my idea is that the admittedly low polygon version of your previous destination is visible there in the background. I'm not 100% sure if you're actually supposed to be able to drive out onto that yet. I'm not sure if you're supposed to be able to ever go back to a previous place, or if the single player campaign will be completely linear. But if it is possible to drive back there, this place here will probably trigger some kind of transition, because this plane is not really modeled in a sense that you could actually drive on it. But I kind of like the look of this. It gives you sort of a sense of awe, of like greatness, standing in front of something really, really big, and you can sort of see the cliffs there beyond that pipeline. So that this is essentially like some sort of ridge of mountains that you've arrived to, and you're continuing upwards through the lift. And yeah, this pipeline is sort of it serves a few purposes actually. It kind of establishes the idea that yes, this is refinery area. You have these pipelines going left and right. I might actually add some to the other side of the refinery as well. But it also serves as a sort of blocker for the players. You can't actually, you can just drive along this side because the level actually ends quite quickly if you drive that way. And if you go here and you drive underneath this, I think at this point the level transition would have already happened. So this is sort of a case of smoke and mirrors, one could say. And some weird artifact actually you can see there. Some of my layers that aren't placed 100% correctly. But yeah, I think this looks quite nice. Almost like awe-inspiring. Kind of like, ironically, kind of like this view the most in this level. Even though it didn't take that long to make. Anyway, the next episode in the Transmissions video series will be the 20th. And I think it might be worth taking a look at how well the series is performing. Shall we say on a YouTube scale. So, in the very first episode, I listed some of the reasons why I wanted to produce this video series. And the main reason was actually for me to just work on the game and get to create videos about it. And it has worked really well in that regard. The content hasn't maybe always been that balanced, and we spent a whole lot of time working on the crane of the mother vehicle in the beginning. But still, it has allowed me to, like, with the pretty low threshold, just put out videos with very minimal editing, and that's been really nice. I hope it has been interesting to you guys as well. But when you think about it from a YouTube perspective, it hasn't performed that well, and that is, I would say, perfectly to be expected, because I almost intentionally kept it pretty vague, and it would probably take years for it to actually gain traction so that people know what transmissions means. There's really no hints about what it actually is about. The viewer will have to sort of find it and figure it out on their own. And so I'm already kind of thinking about perhaps sunsetting the video series. But I am doing that in such a way that the work sort of continues, but perhaps in a slightly more YouTube-friendly way. In other words, it would continue as a properly branded game devlog series. And maybe I'll even put in a little bit more editing, so things like background music and some animations and something. But I think I like to keep it somewhat open-ended how I actually produce these things, because I tend to tackle sort of very varying and different subjects, and some of them actually almost require me to do a little bit of live coding, and that tends to not really require or even perhaps work that well with a lot of heavy editing, while other formats work better with that. So I still might be doing some live editing on, live development, live coding, for example, or level design or whatever with minimal editing. But still, I think I should put a little bit more effort into actually pleasing the YouTube algorithm so that we can find more people who are interested in this kind of content. Something that the current video series isn't really good at doing, and indeed never was really meant to do. So, yeah, I'll still do a few more of these. They're kind of quick and easy to do. I may not actually completely abandon this series even, but we'll see how it turns out. We are currently sitting at 908 subscribers, so we're fast approaching 1000 subscribers, and I think by the time we get there, the new video series should already have started or be just about to get started. And I think one prerequisite to actually starting that series is that I will need to announce the name of the game. The final name means is still just a project name. The game will be called something else. I already know what it is, and I need to set up the branding properly for that. And then we can start a proper devlog series for the game with the proper branding, proper name, proper everything. And yeah, hopefully that is something that will resonate with even more people. So that's it for this time. I hope this was informative. I hope you like the direction I'm going with this level. I hope you like the direction I'm going with the video series and the channel overall. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. It's always a pleasure reading your thoughts. And I'll see you in the next one.